Here at Eden, we are super keen on composting. In actual fact, we produce about 150 tonnes every year from our own waste, and we use that compost all over the gardens to grow great plants. So I'm here to give you 10 top tips on how to do great composting at home. The first thing that you need is compost bins. If you've got a large garden, you can make them, say, out of something like wooden pallets. If you have a smaller garden, you can buy compost bins, something like this. Once you've got a compost bin, you need to think about where to put it. You're looking for somewhere level and free draining, hopefully somewhere where worms can come up from below, and even better, south facing, so it gets the warmth of the sun. So you're going to have to be putting two different types of things into your compost, greens and browns. So greens are things like grass cuttings, leaves from the garden, and your kitchen waste, this sort of thing. This provides lots of nutrients and keeps the compost moist. The browns, on the other hand, that's things like dry leaves and twigs from the garden, scrunched up newspaper, even egg boxes, and this is providing the carbon and the fibre, keeping the compost drier. The trick to making really good compost is get the balance right between the greens and the browns. If the compost is starting to look a little bit on the dry side, it's time to add greens. However, if your compost is starting to look a little bit slimy and wet, it's time to add the browns. Another great thing to add is torn up, scrunched up cardboard. And what this does is keeps really good air pockets in the compost. Be careful not to put any of the wrong materials into the compost bin. You don't want to include any meat products, dairy products, things like cat litter or dog poo or nappies. Also, pernicious weeds, things like dandelion roots or diseased plant material. Really, it's common sense. You don't want to be putting in things like glass, metal or plastics. And now on to a gardener's favourite animal, the humble worm. So worms are fantastic creatures. They eat through the compost, they mix it up and produce a really great compost a little bit quicker. They usually come up from the ground into your compost bin, but if you haven't got any, you can also get them online or from a local garden centre. Using a compost activator is a great way to speed up making your compost, sometimes in half the time. Here at Eden, we make our own activator using the waste from the kitchens. It is possible to buy an activator, or you can grow your own. Comfrey is a great addition to compost. Well, turning compost is something that we do every week here at Eden. It's a good process for aerating the compost, mixing it all up, and it actually is another way of speeding it up. In your garden, you could use something like a garden fork or even a long-handled compost aerator. Keeping your compost hot by keeping the lid on is the best way to kill off pathogens and weed seeds. And this is what we end up with. We call it black gold. It's crumbly, light, spongy and full of nutrients. It's just perfect for using in the garden, spreading around plants, digging in around vegetables, even adding to potting mixtures. It's just so satisfying to know that we can all use our waste material to make something as helpful and useful as this compost. So I wish you great success with your composting.